Today we're talking about some insane internet drama surrounding a well-known missing Christian artifact known as the Ark of the Covenant.
3,000 years ago, the Ark was brought to Jerusalem and revered as the holiest of holy objects, the embodiment of God's presence on earth.
Recently, I watched Indiana Jones Raiders of the Lost Ark, and there is an infamous scene towards the end of the movie where a bunch of nasties get their faces melted off after opening the Ark of the Covenant. Now, it's not Mr. Beast, okay? It's not Mr. Beast, it's not Logan Paul. All right, no groomers, nothing like that. Just a good old-fashioned, insanely interesting mystery. Thank you to Sundays for Dogs for sponsoring this video. A few months ago, Petey and Frankie came to me and they were very sad and I couldn't exactly figure out why. They look like this, which they just kind of look like that normally. Here's one of them. This is Petey.
And then this is my baby Frank. My sweet baby Frank. I love Frankie so much.
And guess what she loves? Sundays for Dogs. Delicious, the healthiest food she's ever had in her entire life. So much better. She acts way better when she's on Sundays dog food. It's incredible. It is the best for my pets. And when this company came to me and approached me for a sponsorship deal, I was already using it. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I have like 15 bags of it. I've been using it for quite a while. It's healthy, it's made with human grade ingredients, and it's 90% meat, 10% vegetables, no synthetic stuff. I've tasted it before. A bunch of my friends have tasted it before. It actually tastes pretty good. Frankie's energy has improved immensely. She also used to have knee problems. She has these her little patellas pop on and off, and she doesn't like to jump sometimes, but she's been spry, all right? It's like that was never a problem. Petey's breath is way better. She's always had shit breath because she eats her shit sometimes, but now, since she's been eating Sunday's dog food, seeing them happy and just, I've been enjoying my dog experience substantially more. Genuinely, this is a great brand. When I saw that they wanted to work with the channel, I was like, what? That's awesome. It is air dried, so it just doesn't have to go in the refrigerator. There's no messy prep. It doesn't stink. It's not gross. It is top tier, top quality food in the most efficient way that's great for your dog and beats out all the competition. If you want to try it out, you can get 50% off your first order by heading to my link or using my code at checkout. That's code OOMPA. Your pup is going to love it.
The Ark of the Covenant was the focal point of religious devotion, the place where God spoke to the world.
So, if you guys want to see that, press the like button down below. Keep watching this video, share it with a friend, and let's get into some of the ridiculousness surrounding the Lost Ark. As you all know, we love conspiracies on this channel, and today we're discussing one of the best theories, conspiracies, just of all time that we've ever come across, and that of the theories surrounding the Ark of the Covenant.
Even many of the most critical historical scholars of the Bible would say there's something to this.
So put on your tinfoil hats and look the in! Seriously though, I know you guys have noticed a bit of a change in my content. I'm gonna be switching it up even more and more and more over the next couple months to just be focusing on things that are more important, things that actually matter to me. So if you really want to see more content like this, press the like button down below. We're gonna try to increase our research value, increase our production, and just make these longer and better and more fun to watch. So what is the Ark? If you are unfamiliar with the term Ark in regard to the Covenant, either A, you're not a religious person, you've never seen Indiana Jones, okay, or you've never played Halo.
What is this place? The Ark. This is the Ark?
Get it? Halo reference. I love Halo. I'm a huge Halo just idiot, neckbeard idiot. This box, if you will, is a wooden storage chest decorated with solid gold, which contains the 10 commandments given by God to Moses, Aaron's rod, and a golden pot of manna, aka food from heaven.
Inside the box was stored a bowl of manna, the stone tablets, and the rod of Aaron that had blossomed. It was called the Ark of the Covenant because these sacred relics reminded or commemorated the covenant made between the Lord and his people.
That's right, manna. That's where manna comes from. You know about manna? I know about manna. I love manna. I've never had it, but it sounds delicious.
The psalmist called it the bread of angels, and Jesus described it as the bread which comes down from heaven.
I imagine Raising Cane's is quite similar to manna. Succulent chicken. According to the book of Exodus, Moses was instructed to build the ark during his time atop Mount Sinai. Ever seen it? Ever heard of it? Sinai? I don't know. Let me Let me go ahead and see how that.
Mount Sinai.
I get in my head about it now. I don't like being the guy who pronounces things that are important wrong. According to the book of Exodus, Moses was instructed to build the ark during his time atop Mount Sinai, the same place Moses was given the Ten Commandments, if you're familiar.
While Moses was on Mount Sinai, the Lord appeared to him and gave him tablets of stone, upon which were engraved the Ten Commandments. These essential laws represented God's covenant with Israel. If the people would obey God, he would provide for them.
Built by Bezalel and Oholiab. I'm so bad at names. The ark was built by these two fellers, Bezalel and Oholiab. They were given detailed instructions from Moses, 2.5 cubits long, 1.5 wide, and 1.5 tall, or 52 by 31 by 31 inches.
And they shall make an ark of shittim wood. 2 cubits and a half shall be the length thereof, and 1.5 cubits the breadth thereof, and 1.5 cubits the height thereof.
It was made of supposed acacia wood, which is beautiful, and was completely covered in wood. Look at the figuring on this acacia. Oh, wow! I love acacia. I love wood in general. Not to mention gold inlay. Holy shit, this is bougie.
And thou shalt overlay it with pure gold. Within and without shalt thou overlay it. And shalt make upon it a crown of gold round about. And thou shalt cast 4 rings of gold for it, and put them in the 4 corners thereof. And 2 rings shall be in the one side of it, and 2 rings in the other side of it.
Also a cubit, I think we should go back to measuring things with cubits and spans. 6 cubits in a span, all right? I think cubit is a good name. My most recent tick has been squamous, cuboid, epithelial, pseudostratical. I think that's it. I think that's the end of it, but I just say it in different order. I don't know what any of it means, but I think it's real. Cubit, I'm gonna add cubit in there. 16 cubits in a squamous, pseudostratical epithelial cuboid. They also ensured to put 4 rings, 1 at each corner of the ark, so that wooden poles could be used to carry it. They would go through the rings, and then people could, because it's heavy as shit. It's a giant wooden box that's got a lot of gold on it. Yeah, there's more to it. You probably are familiar with it, let's be real. The cherubim on either side, it's a really popular thing. It's one of the coolest artifacts in history, and if you haven't seen Indiana Jones Raiders of the Lost Ark, you should watch it immediately. It's a very, very, very great movie, and that is where my fascination specifically about this started, all right? Wait, that's real? Wait a second. Harrison Ford's real? Wait a second, the Ark's real? Wait a second, is it actually a thing? And yes, people have real theories. This is not just some random sci-fi movie. This is real life, all right? Fuck. Anyways, the ark was then placed in the holy place, also known as the tabernacle, where only those blessed by God, for example, the elders and priests, could enter to talk to God and hear his divine wisdom.
The Lord commanded Moses to build a tabernacle in the wilderness. It served as a prototype for returning to God's presence, showing Israel how to symbolically enter into sacred space through the mediation of God's appointed priests.
It was also paraded around towns and carried powers beyond human comprehension. Okay, it's not even a joke. This thing melted people's faces off. According to biblical text, when the Philistines captured the ark, they celebrated and stated that the glory has departed from Israel.
In the battle of Eben Haezer in what's now Rosh Hashanah, the Philistines strike the Israelites a heavy blow. Thousands of soldiers are killed, and the Israelite army is in trouble. Some suggest using the doomsday weapon, the Ark of the Covenant. The ark is brought to the battlefield. The Israelite camp cheers, and the Philistines, they shake with fear. But to the surprise of both sides, the Philistines win the battle once again. And it doesn't end there. The venerated sacred ark is captured by the enemy.
However, they would quickly realize that this is a mistake. These fellas paraded the ark through their towns to mock the Israelites for their prize. However, in relation to this, terrible things would happen. It was finally put in the temple of Dagon, and the next day, the Dagon idol was found broken and bowed before it. The people of Ashdod were also smitten with tumors, and a rat carried a plague over the land.
The people of Ashdod were struck with tumors, and a plague of mice ravaged the land. Terrified, the Philistines moved the ark to different cities, Gath and then Ekron. But everywhere the ark went, the wrath of God followed, afflicting the people with similar plagues.
I mean, classic old-timey stuff there. Smitten with tumors. Imagine you just got a tumor. We know how common cancer is now. Imagine back in the day, you just got a thing on you. Oh God, I'm full of tumors. Old people are full of tumors. You ever notice that? When you get like 95 years old and you got tumors in your head, what are you supposed to do? Get them out? No, you're going to die soon anyway. So like, who cares, bro? Just embrace the tomb, all right? It seemed that the people who had captured the ark were truly plagued and cursed as they surrounded it once they took it away from the land of Israel. This obviously led them wanting to get rid of the artifact because they were plagued by fear. At this point, there's some psychological warfare. They've got a giant, seems like a nuclear, radioactive emitter, some kind of RimWorld psychotronic transmitter out there just affecting everyone's moods for the next 7 days, or whatever the RimWorld. I love RimWorld. Actually, biblical times remind me a lot of RimWorld. That's a really good comparison. Interesting. That's true. I think I ran into the Philistines once. They had a few lycanthropes with them. It took them a while to get rid of this thing too. They held on to it for about 7 months, which is a long time if it's causing tumors and smitten people with rat plagues. I'd get rid of that thing instantaneously. If I had a piece of furniture in my house that was cursed, I mean, what the I don't care if it's got gold and shit on it. If anything, that'd be, you take it from a temple, a tabernacle, and you're like, oh, this is gonna be a great centerpiece. It's gonna get all the people talking. Hey man, no it's not. It's actually gonna smite you with tumors and plagues. Frankie, get in it. That's my dog, Frankie. She's right here. She's this little sweet bean right here. Little sweet bean. So after these smitten people accompanied the return of the ark back to the Israelites, they gave offerings of golden images of the tumors and mice, which makes a lot of sense. They're like children with crayons. Very articulate, creative, expressive.
The Philistines sought counsel from their priests and diviners. They were advised to send the ark back to Israel, along with a guilt offering of golden tumors and mice, as a recognition of God's power over them. To ensure it was truly God's doing, they placed the ark on a cart drawn by cows that had never been yoked, sending it toward Israel without guidance. If the cows went straight to Israel, it would confirm that the plagues were from God.
The ark stopped in this guy's field, Joshua the Beth-Shemite, and the Beth-Shemites offered sacrifices and burnt different offerings in celebration. However, out of curiosity, Beth-Shemesh gazed into the ark and suffered a great punishment, all right? According to translation, either 70 or 50,070 were then immediately struck down by the Lord.
When it gets to Beth Shemesh, the men see the ark coming, and 70 men open the ark and look inside, and all die.
So that's not good. That's quite bad. That sounds like the death toll of someone who accidentally just set off a little nuclear bomb. Now, I'm not saying it's a nuclear bomb or some kind of nuclear technology, some kind of atom, some kind of atomic particle generator or something like that, but it's also exactly what I'm saying. I jest. Do I though? I don't know. That seems really crazy. Why would they make this up? I mean, I think I know why, but I don't know. The ark was then taken and put away because if someone gets curious and gazes into it, between 70 or 50,070 people die. That's bad.
They sent messengers to the inhabitants of Kiriath Jearim, saying, "The Philistines have returned the ark of the Lord. Come down and take it up to you." And the men of Kiriath Jearim came and took up the ark of the Lord and brought it to the house of Abinadab on the hill. And they consecrated his son Eleazar to have charge of the ark of the Lord.
Imagine once again the infamous scene from Indiana Jones, my favorite movie, where they opened the ark and it began to explode and melt. That's what was happening to these Beth-Shemites. Beth-Shemesh, Joshua, everybody died. What the f? After this absolute travesty, the ark was moved around many times, and the most popular of the locations was the Temple of King Solomon.
In time, the Ark of the Covenant was placed by the prophet Solomon in the great temple in Jerusalem, also known as the Temple of Solomon. However, in 587 BC, Jerusalem was invaded by the Babylonian army, the Temple of Solomon was sacked, and the Jews were sent into exile.
So it was there, it was here, it was there. Here's a map of all the potential locations of the Ark of the Covenant. The magic box, the acacia golden box that blows people's faces off. They move this thing around a lot, all right? That's the main point here. But it really all boils down to the alleged fact that this artifact held powers and basically the presence of God wherever it traveled.
The Bible reveals that the Ark of the Covenant was where God set up his throne upon the earth, and the place where his presence appeared among his people Israel.
In 587 BC, the Babylonians destroyed Jerusalem because of our last character, friend of the show, Nebuchadnezzar. He burned it to the ground, okay? It's son of a...
Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, and all his army came against Jerusalem and besieged it.
And due to the meticulous nature of the Babylonian archiving, we got some history about the Ark. They stated the items that they looted when they sacked Jerusalem. And guess what? There was no Ark looted. It completely disappeared from history after that point, from written history. You know, they took everything. They looted everything. Why would Nebuchadnezzar loot? That's like going to a dungeon and not getting the Ark of the Covenant. I mean, that's the first thing. Well, maybe he looked into it and knocked his helmet off or whatever. It put his Stargate out or something like that. I'm not exactly sure. He already has a Stargate. He doesn't need the Ark of the Covenant. What the fuck?
It sounds far-fetched, but this theory is widely believed.
So that is the distilled basic history of the Ark of the Covenant. The location of the Ark at this day is unknown. Many have claimed it was destroyed or hidden beneath the earth, some even stating it was beneath the cross when Jesus was crucified.
By the time of Babylonian captivity, the Ark had completely disappeared from the pages of history. But the Apocrypha, unofficial Old Testament pages, states that the Ark couldn't be found when the Jewish people rebuilt the temple at the time of Ezra and Zechariah, because Jeremiah hid the Ark in a cave inside Mount Nebo before the Babylonians invaded. These texts also state that the exact location of the Ark would never be revealed until God was ready for it to be found.
There's an entire animation dedicated to recreating how this could have happened with the theories of this, stating that Jesus' blood fell onto the mercy seat or lid of the Ark. I mean, this goes pretty deep. There's some rabbit holes here.
On the cross, we see the two thieves in front of him. We see the cutouts in the rock in back, Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews, and there was a great earthquake. The earthquake opened up the rock below the cross hole. The rock extended down into the cave below, and the stone lid of the box was broken and moved askew. Christ was pierced in his side. The blood came out, ran down this crack, and fell onto the mercy seat of the Ark of the Covenant.
There's a bunch of theories, but nobody actually knows exactly where the Ark lays. Nobody's seen it, nobody's touched it, nobody's opened it, nobody's gazed, all right? And it hasn't gazed back, fortunately. Also, to be fair, the areas in which it probably is or could be, if it's still there, it's not easy to search in those areas. Most locations where people want to search for the Ark, they're denied entry into those areas, or they're not. You're like, no, you can't dig for the Ark of the Covenant, you fool. We're war torn. All right, guys. It's a little politically hot right now, okay? Plus, religious beliefs, political beliefs. Of course, they're not going to let a bunch of random ass scientists go in there and be like, it was a radioactive nuclear transmitter. Yeah, shut up, dude. All right, what the f? I smite you with a tumor. Here, hold my plague rat.
Oh, funny baby and Peter. Oh, funny baby and Peter.
So yeah, nobody knows what this thing is, okay? And I personally believe it's probably maybe in a top secret United States military base. You ever seen those ships flying, defying the laws of gravity and physics and all that stuff? Yeah. That's because the Ark of the Covenant. I don't actually know. It's in Halo. It's in 2552 AD, and the Covenant just landed on Earth. I don't know, dude. Where's the Master Chief? Fuck! We need him to look into the Ark of the Covenant. It is an interesting piece of furniture for God to decide has massive powers. It's just a chest. It's a chest. It's pretty cool. It's a good-looking chest. It's a neat chest for sure. But it's like, why not anything else? Why not like a trampoline or a something fun? Maybe people jump on it and then they go flying. Beth Shemesh jumped on the... No. That is funny, though. That's a funny thought. I like that thought. I'm still thinking it right now. Yeah, I'm still thinking it. Absolutely. I figure you can probably imagine that there's a ton of people searching for this thing, and there have been a ton of people searching for this thing for a very, very, very long time. We found some crazy biblical artifacts and proven the existence of some really interesting stuff, and the Ark still hasn't been found, but there's a lot of people looking for it, this thing, okay? One of these fellas is known as Ron Wyatt. 2 first names, pretty cool. Ron Wyatt is the guy that is responsible for the belief of the Ark being beneath where Jesus was crucified, beneath his cross. He claims he actually saw the Ark and the exact tomb where the Ark was held. This guy is claiming some wild stuff.
Now, when I found the Ark of the Covenant, the lid on the stone box had been busted, and it slid around, one end of it slid around to the side, and there was dried blood on both edges of that broken lid. And of course, later, when I had access to the mercy seat itself, there was large quantities of dried blood at the ceremony.
He states he even found a blood sample on the mercy seat of the Ark, claiming that the blood was living and had 24 chromosomes versus 46, which is the normal amount. 23 from Mary and 1 from the father, but not a human father. So this guy is really, he's onto something, I think, here. I think this is probably really interesting.
It's not ordinary blood, folks. It has 24 chromosomes only. All of us here have 46. Unless, there's a couple of genetic anomalies that make that different. But Christ received 23 from his mother and 1 Y, sex determining factor from his father, who was not a human father.
This is his story, of course. I'm not trying to be so disrespectful here, because it's like, it's sweet. It's he's looking for the Ark out there. He saw it. He found blood with 24 chromosomes instead of 46. I found blood with 47 chromosomes. All right, and I didn't make a fucking big deal about it. You son of a... The point is, this guy has yet to bring any evidence at all to show everyone that his claims are true. And believe it or not, he states he found it and sent it off to some personal friends to study it. Nah, he didn't make a big deal about it and, proclaim it to the world that he found the Ark of the Covenant to prove or disprove a couple billion people. I don't know. It's like kind of odd to not... I'm going to send this to my personal friends to study this bad boy. It's like me sending like a mixtape or something like that. Ron's reasoning as to why he can't bring anything back or excavate everything fully is due to political turmoil and the refusal to allow him to continue digging. And then he died. And up until his death, he made countless trips to the Middle East and even claimed to have found Noah's Ark, the boat from the Great Flood. This guy loves making claims and then just not backing them up. That's pretty cool. My kind of man there. And in case you're wondering, a lot of scholars, actual scholars, biblical scholars, and secular scholars, scientific in nature, have denied his claims that he has found these artifacts and he was called a fraud. So I guess we'll never know for sure. He died in August 1999, okay? And it's because he looked into the Ark and it knocked his face off and it smit him with tumors and threw a plague rat into his mouth. All right, or something like that. I got my 2 own plague rats right here. They're so cute.
Babies. Hey, monkey.
Another fellow by the name of Jim Barfield focused on a scroll that was found near the famous Dead Sea Scrolls, the scrolls that backed up certain parts of the Bible. Very interesting. I would recommend looking into that. I might make a video on it, but there's not enough conspiracies, to be honest. It's just kind of like interesting and academic and not that it's fun, but it's like not the kind of fun I like. It's not debaucherous. It's not a rotten good time. The scroll that Jim found was not a typical scroll made of paper invented in 240 BC in China. When was paper invented? I think it was 200 BC, somewhere there in China. This shit was made of copper, okay? A plumber made this, okay? And these copper scrolls don't talk about Bible stories, but instead they talk of great treasures and artifacts hidden in multiple locations. In essence, it was a copper scroll treasure map, a genuine guide to finding where treasures have been buried, which is insane. Jim Barfield then became obsessed with the copper scrolls and began searching for clues of what they may be talking about, reading them in their literal sense.
In the valley of Achor, under the steps which go eastward, 40 rod cubits, a strong box of silver and its vessels, a weight of 17 talents.
So what exactly does that mean? That is some ancient speak there. A cubit is the length of your elbow to your middle finger, but like people are different sized, and especially back then. I mean, mine's probably about average size for a biboid, and you know, someone of that time. But yeah, I'm not really sure. It's about a foot and a half though, rod cubits, and that means steps would go 60 feet down a staircase that went east, and a treasure of 17 talents, which I don't know what the f that is either, but it's between $500,000 and $1 million, apparently, if you look it up. So it's between $8 and $17 million of treasure. I don't know how he knew this, or this copper guy knew this, or whatever, this plumber. I'm not sure. Anyways, location 2, outlined on the copper scrolls, was described as having 900 talents, and that is insanity. I'm not sure how they do this. I'm not sure how this works, but you know, one thing is for sure, biblical conversions can be very confusing, but it's about a $1.2 billion worth of gold in that one, 900 talents worth. I'm going to go find it. I give up being a YouTuber. I quit. This is not fun. I don't like it. This is actually fun. This video is fun, but all the other ones are not that fun. I'm going to go find $1.2 billion of treasure from a copper map. Look out, Jim. You better hide that thing. The part outlining $1.2 billion of treasure isn't even the most interesting part of the scroll, okay? The most interesting part is read in location 3, the Qumran, located near Jordan, as described in the scroll. It is a place with a cave that is said to have the Ark of the Covenant. This is insane. Why would this fellow draw this conclusion? Well, he marked on a map the 3 dig sites that the scrolls could have hinted at, and he found evidence of treasures along the way. And the last location lines up on that straight line and follows the supposed description of the cave as said in the copper scrolls. I don't know if it's got the Ark of the Covenant in that or not, but it looks like we might be onto something here. All right, guys. I'm just kidding. I don't actually know. But this is pretty cool though. At the end of the day, the copper scrolls are pretty cool, and Qumran looks eerily similar to Jerusalem back in the anyways, Ark of the Covenant. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's it. Hey, Jim, you need me to come with you? You need me to come with you? I'll come with you. I'll bring a video camera. I'm good at that stuff. But not really, though. I'm not that good at it, to be honest. To be honest, Jim, I'm not that good at it. Hey, Jim, I suck, Jim. I'm a piece of shit, Jim. I'm like confessing to Jim right now. I'm sorry. He's not watching this. That is cool, though. I really do like the copper scrolls and the idea that the Qumran is Jerusalem. Now, to be clear, this is on the History Channel, so I don't know what the f***'s real or what's not. The History Channel is not a reputable source of information, but they went to the cave. He found what looked like a sealed opening. It was sealed with an ancient trowel. It was like some kind of mason, some kind of ancient mason fellow. He saw some stones that looked completely different than the rest of the rocks around, and he took a sample and sent it to 2 different companies, and they both said that it was man-made mortar, which is really interesting.
I took a sample of this stone to 2 different companies. They said it was an ancient man-made mortar, unlike any natural formation.
After finding enough evidence there, they took their little metal detector up the hill and began scanning the area, and what they found was pretty interesting. According to Jim Barfield,
it was the mother lode.
When we saw the readings for this location, we knew that this was the mother lode.
He says the mother lode, the mother lode. This is what they're gonna find on that Oak Island one of these days. What's that place where they keep digging? There's like 7 seasons and they ain't found shit. What's that? The Mystery of Oak Island or something? I forget. I don't really know. It doesn't matter. It's crazy that there's so many seasons of that show. This area had 5 times higher readings than Area 2, which Area 2 supposedly has 33 tons of gold buried there. So this is like a lot. But these readings mean absolutely nothing because Jim is not allowed to dig anywhere at these sites, and they've been heavily restricted by the government there. Sorry, Jim. That sucks. That's sad, but that's really unfortunate. Most that he's ever been able to dig is about 2 or 4 feet, and the contracts that he's involved in are always changing. I don't see why they just wouldn't start excavating out there, dude. I'd start digging, bud. If there was some shit on my land, there ain't even anything on my land, and I just dig holes. I'm compelled to dig holes. I'm just a digger. I love digging holes, dude. Not super deep, because the ground gets pretty hard. It's clay, but like, you know, that top sand, nothing's more satisfying than digging a hole until you start to get tired. Then it's like, all right, I'm good. So it's just more mystery in regard to the Ark of the Covenant and just general biblical treasures with the copper scrolls and Jim Barfield. There are so many theories, from the Templars being involved to the Nazis. There are theories of where the Ark could be if it wasn't destroyed at some point. It was just acacia. I'm not sure. Piece of furniture. isn't going to last that long, to be honest with you. But maybe it's got a holy power, some holy uranium in it or something like that. Regardless of that, though, they're always finding stuff from before our time. But the Ark of the Covenant mystery in particular leaves more questions than answers. There's so many possibilities. Here's the fun part. Conspiracies. All right, guys.
Conspiracies.
This is, I mean, out there. There is some out there conspiracies surrounding the Ark of the Covenant. Some really wild stuff.
My baby gumpies.
I just put my hand out and she just puts her head in my hand. Oh.
Gumpy baby. Oh, little baby so small. Little baby so small. Little baby so small. Little baby so small.
So what the happened to the Ark of the Covenant, guys? And what powers does it have? I mean, it allowed them to win battles and caused plagues to those who were against God's chosen people. So this thing is really, really, really important, allegedly. What power would it have now if we found it? What if I opened it up and I looked at it? Would it blow my face off? Would a plague rat fly out? What exactly is happening? Now, there's quite a few theories here, but these are just theories. I mean, like, I don't even need to explain that. These are awesome theories. These are the theories as to what powers the Ark of the Covenant probably had scientifically accurately in real life when it actually existed, if it still exists. I'm not exactly sure. It's no wonder the Nazis wanted it so badly during World War II. I think I might be conflating Indiana Jones with reality, unfortunately, but them Nazis was obsessed with the occult. They wanted the Cup of Christ, the Holy Grail. I'm sure they wanted the Ark of the Covenant. I'm not exactly sure. They were under Hitler's direct orders to go and find every single religious artifact possible. They took a lot. It took a lot. The Catholic Church and stuff, it did a lot. It was a really interesting time, to be honest with you. Very interesting. Weird. It will probably come at no surprise to you that they were actually interested in the Ark. I mean, let's be real. They were interested in everything else. They had that acorn, the bell. They were interested in winning the war at any means necessary. Some of those means might be by which things we just don't understand, Daddy. Okay, now, put your science hat on, because this is about to get really, really, really high level and articulate. First theory, the Ark is an electric capacitor. And this is one of the most popular theories surrounding the Ark and is actually a foundational theory for many other theories that we will cover in this video. So as you probably know by now, the exterior of the Ark is entirely made of gold. But did you know that the multiple layers within the Ark may help it conduct electricity? You see, behind the outside layer of gold is a layer of acacia wood and another layer of gold. A regular electric capacitor works by having non-conductive material surrounded by a conductive material. The Ark is constructed as a basic capacitor with acacia wood sandwiched between two layers of gold. Sandwich. I'm hungry.
And that's how capacitors work. You have two conductive surfaces overlapping but not touching, isolated by a non-conductor called a dielectric that can be air or better. And now if you put a power supply across the surfaces like a battery, you can push electrons into one surface and suck them from the other surface. Of course, the electric current is defined as the reverse of the flow of electrons.
If the interior layer of gold was positively charged and the exterior layer of gold was negatively charged, that thing could hold a lot of electricity, and it could be transported anywhere and potentially accidentally discharge and throw 1,500 plague rats out of it. In case you weren't aware, it's important to note that back then, in the times of the Ark of the Covenant, there were no generators or electrical devices. Nobody had electricity. That was other than the Ark, of course. So how did this bad boy gain charge? According to the theory, the capacitor would be charged by friction and heat caused by priests carrying it through the desert. So the heat of the sun and the friction of the priest's hands on the handles created static electricity for the Ark to store that could be used by the priests to perform miracles and fight in the name of Christ. Now, I'm not sure about that. That seems wild. You do what with it? This explanation does tie into stories found within the Bible confirming that the Ark could have been an electrical conduit. For example, in Joshua 6:1 through 27, the Battle of Jericho is explained in great detail. And an important detail from the story is the Ark of the Covenant was brought to the walls of the city of Jericho and marched around the walls for 7 days by priests and armed guards. And after the 7th day, the wall fell down and the Israelites stormed the city successfully, capturing it from the Canaanites. Oh, wow. That thing is definitely a big time capacitor. It makes sense to just like not buy any of this stuff, obviously, but imagine you go back in time and you see these people carrying this thing around and it's like launching bolts of lightning and shit. And you're just, Oh my God. Oh my God, there's no peer-reviewed studies to help me understand exactly what I'm witnessing here. You just go back in time and people are casting spells and eating manna. What the hell? You tell me it was all real? I sure hope it is. So basically, the priests carried the ark around the walls of Jericho to charge it up and blow down the walls so the Israelites could capture the city. This is an interesting way to siege a city. It's just one piece of written evidence that could potentially prove the ark was a capacitor. Furthermore, in the book of Exodus, specifically Exodus 36:19, the ark is described as being covered in animal hides and fine cloth to protect it during transport. Cloth is a well-known insulator, and animal hides can sometimes be good insulators if the hairs are kept intact. So it would potentially appear that the priests covered the ark in insulators to prevent themselves from getting shocked during transport. These guys had a gigantic electric energy weapon. Holy shit. Speaking of transport, how is it possible for 4 priests to carry an ark? It's 2 layers of solid gold, and not to mention the contents within it. 16 Caniac combos, 900 plague rats, and a whole hell of a lot of electricity. Gold is double the density of steel, which means the ark would have weighed a shit ton. It would have been incredibly heavy. But if it were an electric capacitor, it could potentially help explain why 4 priests were able to carry it and how maybe it could levitate off the ground, as elaborated upon in 1 Samuel 5. You see, fellas, if the outside layer were negatively charged, as we previously discussed, then it would repel the negatively charged surface of the earth, making it float off the ground.
It will always go from the direction strong to weak. And essentially, these 2 magnets will move outwards, they will repel, because that's the only way you can make this field in the center weaker, to match the field at the outsides.
This would make it practically weightless and allow priests to transport it over any terrain and any distance, since most of the weight is being held up by the negative energy field in between the ark and the ground. Now, if that's the case, why don't we just do that? Now, if we understand that shit, if you're like, well, the ark back in the Bible times would float off the ground, all right? And it's a big old electrical capacitor. Why don't we just build one right now, you know? Why don't we just build one? Anyways, there are also stories of the ark producing lightning bolts and emitting a strange glow around it, and this has led many people to believe that the gold cherubim on top of the lid acted like a Tesla coil, and the main body was the capacitor that held all the energy. In the book of Samuel, an Israelite named Uzzah is mentioned as reaching out and touching the ark and being struck down by God via lightning. Dude discharged the ark. He touched a capacitor. So what if it actually wasn't God and it was actually just a bolt from the ark? And it was so unexplainable to them that they just were like, oh my gosh, that was definitely God. That wasn't this massive capacitor we're carrying around. The strange glow could be explained by the large amounts of current flowing through the ark. I mean, high voltage things can create plasma in the air and glow purple. We've seen that before. There's all sorts of electrical experiments showing that. So if the ark was storing large amounts of static electricity, it would have likely made the air around it glow purple, which is why some people claim that it would glow. If you look at the design of a Tesla coil, you can easily apply it to the shape and design of the ark and see that if it was holding any charge, it could house the components of a Tesla coil. The main body would be where the Tesla terminals would be held, and the spark coils are the cherubim on the lid. Hey, guess what? Someone has remade it and reconstructed it. That's the History Channel. They reconstructed the ark and they showed that it was technically possible for it to serve as an electric capacitor. This is probably one of the most widely believed theories and most supported. And looking at all the evidence, I guess that it's not entirely impossible for the ark to be a capacitor, but it would be some fairly advanced technology. And I don't think it's something you'd probably do by accident, maybe. I'm not really sure. I don't know. I'm no expert on really anything. But it seems like this probably isn't true. I will say, though, maybe gold's magic. You ever seen that much gold? I haven't. I haven't seen that much gold. Why the Anunnaki put us here? All right, to harvest gold for their ships? What's so special about gold? Maybe gold's magic. When you get a lot of gold together, maybe it's magic. Maybe, I don't know, dude. I just make shit up on the internet. That's what I do. As mentioned before, the ark being a capacitor is the basis of many theories, including the next one. The siege of Jericho is an important piece of evidence to prove that the ark was potentially an electric capacitor, but it's also important to show that the ark was a weapon of mass destruction, a weapon that Moses harnessed using ancient Egyptian magic. Now, I know that sounds insane, but this is an actual real theory that is widely believed to be true. So there's multiple instances of the ark being used in battles by the Israelites other than in the Battle of Jericho. For example, in the book of Judges, the Battle of Gibeah occurs between the tribe of Benjamin and the Israelites, and before the battle, the ark is consulted, and God tells the Israelites to send Judah into battle first. The Israelites would win the battle and slaughter the Benjamites, leading many to believe that the ark was used as a weapon to wipe them off the battlefield. And as we have established, the ark has the ability to strike people down when they touch it or shatter city walls after it getting a full charge. How is it controlled? I'm not exactly sure, but it is widely believed that Moses had learned ancient magic from Egyptian pharaohs, which he used to control the ark. In the book of Exodus, there are 4 instances of Moses returning to Egyptian magicians. In each instance, a magical spectacle was performed. For example, in Exodus 7:10-13, Egyptian magicians turned their staffs into snakes. Sometimes I turned my snake into a staff when my girlfriend touched it. In Exodus 7:20-24, Moses turned the river Nile into blood. And in all the instances, it is said that the magicians did the same things using their secret ancient Egyptian arts. It is also a fact that Moses was born in Egypt, meaning that he was around these magicians or had seen their work his entire life. And this has led a lot of really smart people to believe that Moses learned the ancient magic of the Egyptian magicians and used these powers to control the power stored within the Ark of the Covenant to blast and shatter. You might be wondering, how the f would he learn that arcane knowledge? How would he even know how to use the Ark? It's a one-of-a-kind device never seen before. Well, it is believed that when Moses followed God's instructions to create the ark, he used some of his own knowledge to design it and modify it so he could control it with Egyptian magic. This is awesome. Many suggest that Moses took designs from the Ark of the Pharaoh and Tutankhamun and the ancient Egyptian festival of Apet and used them to design the Ark of the Covenant in order to control it. Moses may have seen these events or items and then understood how Egyptian magicians would manipulate them to their will, so he recreated it in a similar fashion using the Ark. Or maybe not. I'm not exactly sure. Moses wasn't around to control this bad boy 24/7, so how exactly did his weapon stay lethal? Well, I tell you what, it wasn't necessarily Egyptian magic. It was nuclear power, radiation, all right? This is basically the same theory that I, what is it called? Posited, that's it. Once again, back to the book of Samuel. The Battle of Ebenezer occurred between the Israelites and the Philistines. They took the ark, they brought it back, they got tumors, they got rats, then they took it back, they brought the golden tumors, they brought back the golden rats. So even without Moses, the ark was still very lethal, and similar to previous attacks where it was either consulted or used to throw bolts of lightnings, it caused plagues and tumors. Okay, guys, unsimilar, dissimilar. Okay, this time it fucking caused plagues and tumors. This got some people thinking, hey man, maybe it's radiation. Maybe it's radiation poisoning. Maybe it's nuclear. Yes, you heard that right. The Ark of the Covenant was a nuclear weapon that could radiate lethal doses of radiation poisoning in times of need, such as when it was stolen by the Philistines. So not always, but specifically when it was stolen by the Philistines. You might be asking me, Opavel, well, how is the ark radioactive? We already went over how it was built. It's a capacitor. It's a capacitor that can shoot bolts of lightning using magic gold, all right? It's not radioactive. Acacia's not radioactive, but maybe the contents within the ark, the tablets of the 10 Commandments, potentially one of those things was radioactive enough to kill a man. There are a few pieces of evidence that could actually prove this theory to be true. Firstly, back to Mount Sinai, where Moses carved the 10 Commandments. Mount Sinai is known to have large deposits of uranium, and there are still active uranium mines in the area of Sinai today. So there's a possibility that the tablets themselves contain deposits of uranium. Maybe they were literally made of uranium. I have no idea, but that's, I believe it. Secondly, the ark was coated in gold, which is known for repelling radiation. It's extremely dense. Lead, gold, very dense metals are better at preventing radiation from killing people. They're good at insulating away from it. So yeah, it was built so it wouldn't hurt people unless they opened it up and looked at it or something. I'm not sure. Thirdly, the Israelites covered this thing in incense and cloth. Maybe they were using it to block radiation. There are theories that ancient spices could protect cells from radiation if properly prepared. For example, in Leviticus 10, Nadab and Abihu incorrectly prepared incense for the ark and were struck down by God, which means they did it wrong and they died because of the radiation, because it's like magic peppercorns. And on top of this, Moses instructed that their bodies be buried in a specific way away from the camp because he knew that their bodies were infected, irradiated. Lastly, the priests that carried the ark were instructed to wear golden accoutrements, golden hat, golden clothing, and even the temples where the ark was stored had special altars in separate buildings because they knew how radioactive this bad boy was. So this theory would also explain why the Philistines got tumors. And, some people believe that the radiation emanating from the ark caused the walls of Jericho to crack and fall to the ground, which that's ridiculous, but I don't know. I'm not a genius. There's one more theory, by the way. This involves the ark being a manna machine of the manna tribe. This theory is deep-seated in Jewish religion. It comes from the Jewish Kabbalah, a teaching method that involves many fundamental principles and ideas of the Jewish faith. Two people, George Sassoon and Rodney Dale, supposedly decoded the Kabbalah and realized that the Ark of the Covenant was a manna machine, or a nuclear reactor-powered machine that could infinitely produce food. These two geniuses explained that the Kabbalah was not an ideology or God, but in fact, a manna machine, and that the nuclear reactor used to power it was housed inside the Ark. It was a manna machine, guys. They claim that this device is the reason that the Israelites survived the 40-year journey across the Sinai desert in the book of Exodus, because they were eating canes. They also stated that the ark produced manna or food for 6 days straight in the book of Exodus, and then on the 7th day, it had to be cleaned in order to continue producing, which that's pretty awesome. It had to clean that bad boy off. It had to wipe its butt. This schedule ties in with the Jewish day of rest, the Sabbath, in which you're supposed to spend the day resting and praying, and it would explain the origin of the long-standing tradition, the wiping of the butt of the Ark of the Covenant. There are many theories to what happened to the Ark and what its true purpose was. Maybe someday we will finally uncover it so we can look inside. I want to look inside and get hit with a plague rat. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, press the like button down below. Go to sour.gg, buy some candy, and join the Gump Club to see these videos uncensored. Yes, sir. Plus, you get like pretty cool stuff. Sour Boys, you get some unique merch. We sell mouse pads. We sell a pretty good amount of interesting things. Anyways, thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. Goodbye.